welcome in. Postgame live is Guerilla Sports Off Ice. Avs fall 4-3 to the Mammoth in overtime, Megan. They remain. Did Vegas play tonight? I haven't looked to see if Vegas play tonight. Avs remain one of at least two teams, or at most two teams, still without a regulation loss, so they keep their point streak going. Megan, I said to the folks that were in here with about 15 minutes left in this game, I said, that if you can find a way to get a point out of this game, you're very happy with that. Puck wasn't bouncing the Avs' way tonight. They didn't help themselves out in a lot of areas. We talked about it in the second intermission. They were beating the puck up a little bit. Avs find a way to scratch out a point here in this one, even though it's maybe a little bit of a frustrating game with the way that it plays out. I think if you're the Avs, you take that point, you get back on the plane, and you say, wasn't our best game. We found a way to get something out of it.
Yeah. It's frustrating because it's self-inflicted, and there's also 82 games in a season. I don't expect them to win it all, so I'm not going to worry too much about it, but I am frustrated then with the way this plays out. I think that players that they lean on make uncharacteristic mistakes, and it's something they can certainly learn from. But because it's more so self-inflicted and not a masterclass on behalf of Utah, I do feel a little frustrated with the result. But I look at some of the good things in the third period that I think help to keep them in this and scratch out that point. And a lot of it is the life source from that third line. And it's not just getting a goal about a minute into the third period to help get them back in this game. It's even seeing the way that Jared Bednar deploys them late in the third. He's turning to a lot of those guys. You see a line that has Parker Kelly playing with Gabriel Landeskog, and so that's obviously a little bit more depth. That's kind of the fourth line. But you're seeing a lot from the Colton line in that third period, not just because they scored the goal, but I think because they had the right energy, and I think they were a little bit more responsible with the puck when it was all said and done. So, there's positives to take away from it, but I am ultimately a little frustrated with how it plays out.
So I was going to say, I'm going to nitpick something that you said at the very beginning of, for me, I think if you're looking at this and you're the Avs, I think you're fine with the result. I don't think you love the process. I think the fact that
because you were sitting there like, I'm happy, and I was like, I'm not happy.
I'm
just
saying,
to be clear,
I'm saying the way that the game played, the way that they looked in the back half, I think you should be happy with the point. I thought they struggled tonight. And to the correct point, I think that you made, top guys were not, the top guys really struggled tonight. If it wasn't for the play of that third line, the fourth line gets them going early in the game. You probably don't come out of this with any points. So I think if you're the Avs, you're saying, yeah, we will happily take a point out of this one, because I'm with you, Megan. The process was not good.
Yeah. I don't know that that's a nitpick.
Well, no. I was just, because you were saying I'm frustrated with the result. That's what I'm saying. It's a real nitpick. I'm not frustrated with the result. I'm frustrated with the way that all played out. It's 11:30. I'm just being semantic.
Yeah, because I have a nitpick with you being happy with a point.
Hey, when you play like shit and you still get rewarded, good for you.
I'm not happy with a point, just to be clear.
We talked about it throughout the intermissions. It felt like there was a real turning point in this game. It felt like the Avs had some momentum. We're even, running downhill a little bit when Gabe Landeskog gets the goal. It feels like, all right, they're in the driver's seat. They're up by 2. The goal gets called back, and it just really felt like things shifted. And while, like I said, you give them credit for getting the game tied twice in the third period, it still just felt a little bit running around and not as structured as we've seen them play through the first half dozen games.
Yeah, I don't know that they gathered their composure fully from the second period. I thought that the way they started the third pointed to a good regroup in between periods, but I don't think it was sustained and ultimately landed them in some trouble, because I look at how the Sergachev goal comes about, and it's an uncharacteristic decision from Lehkonen in how he decides to play this puck that's rimmed around the wall. And I understand the intent in what he's trying to do and kind of chip it back and break it out that way, but Sergachev is behind him. And so I think the lack of awareness there from a player who is otherwise so smart and typically pays attention to that type of detail is a reflection of what wasn't going right in this game. You have some of your most responsible players or players that you turn to as leaders in that top six just not quite dialed in, not quite locked into this game. And that's why I think this is a tale of two Marty Necas in this game. Like, it's very Jekyll Hyde. There's high wire. It was a high wire act because there are plays that are high skill breakaways.
Oh, we got the money lights cutting you off here real quick. Tim Charlotte, I hate mediocrity, but I'll take the point. That said, I'm 100% pissed about the Landy goal being called off. We'll come back to that Landy goal after you finish this point about the correct point, I think, about Marty Necas, and we saw the kind of two sides of that tonight.
I was very cynically like, well, this could be great for contract negotiations, but it's a single game of a not-so-stellar Marty Necas, as you said, fighting with the puck throughout the night. Because there are still some high-skill plays that gives him opportunities off the rush, on the breakaway. The goal that ultimately ties this game,
what a play,
is so high skill, and he stays with it, right? Like, his initial shot attempt is blocked. He reclaims it, and to be able to get that shot off from that angle in motion like that is so impressive. And so I'm not going to beat up too hard on Marty Necas, who has been one of their best performers, best producers.
7-game point streak still.
So I'm not going to beat up on him too harshly, but it was weird to see him have such highs and lows swinging in this game.
Let's talk about this here on the $5 super chat from Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, thanks. Big shout out to Tim Charlotte here on the $5 super chat. Megan, yeah, it's look, there's a lot of game that played out here. There's a lot of things that the Avs needed to do better. They needed to fight through a little bit of adversity. I think a little bit better there in the second period, but we talked about it in the intermission. Megan, I do not like this call that brings Gabe Landeskog's goal off the board for the Avs for several reasons, but most of all, it's the fact that we do get the official explanation of like, we're going to interpret it a little bit different than maybe the way you would normally see it interpreted. The Avs get called for offside, even though Dylan Guenther is the player who brought the puck into the zone. The Utah player bringing the puck back into Utah's zone should have cleared the offside for the Avs.
Yeah, going back to our analysis, if people didn't hear it in the intermission report, I don't think it's clear that was intentional on behalf of Guenther. If anything, they don't start there, right? They're evaluating whether or not this touches Val Nichushkin's stick because they think he's caught a rolling puck that has accidentally been bobbled off of Guenther's stick. And so it's weird to then shift that to, he did this very deliberately. Those are two very different stories. And because of where they start in the evaluation, it just doesn't really hold up in my eyes.
And my other thing with it too is, because you're right, those are two very different things, but like with the way that I read the different parts of that rule, I don't think either of them should matter. Val Nichushkin doesn't make a stick check, doesn't make a poke check, and doesn't make contact with the puck after it leaves Guenther's stick. There's no part of that where I'm like, oh, okay, well, I see why they would interpret it that way. I just don't get it. And to your point, okay, so now as another layer to what are already controversial reviews, we're now going to start weighing, what was this guy's intention?
Yeah, what was he thinking?
What was he
can't
trying
play
to do?
We can't.
And I just
and typically intention is a little more obvious because
Right.
this puck is rolling so much. That seems like a player who made an impulse panic move. And that is impulse and panic that is created because Val Nichushkin is forechecking as he should be.
Yeah.
So what I hated too is this precedent of this is what players should be doing at the ends of their shift. And I worried in the intermission that does this have even a subconscious role on the forecheck moving forward. And Dan pointed out as we were watching, like, wow, I haven't really seen Nichushkin kind of getting involved on the forecheck as heavily, as physically as I normally see him ever since that goal gets called back. And we do eventually see him kind of battling in the corner, and he appears to be a little dinged up afterwards. But even prior to that, you're just not quite seeing that same spark from Nichushkin. And I'm speculating intention here, but I do wonder if something like that sets a weird precedent that gets in the back of your mind in a funky way.
His strongest forecheck in the game cost them a goal.
Right.
Somehow.
So he's probably like, I don't actually know the rules anymore. So here's what I hope to, because I don't want to be too dramatic about this. I think that is going to stay inside this game. I think it just has to be a total reset for Val Nichushkin, not to worry about it. He should not be withholding or conservative in how he deploys his forecheck moving forward. But it did set a weird precedent that I think the rest of the league, every heavy forechecking player is going to be worried about.
I hope it stays inside this game from that standpoint. I think that was a botched call. Not to sound overly dramatic, but like I think that was the wrong call. I think given the explanation they made, they got it wrong, and you need to get that fixed. You need to get it amended. And again, like this is one of those moments where, and I said it during the intermission, I would feel this way regardless of what game I'm watching, and truthfully, what direction it went for either team in this game. I would love to hear from one of the lead official who is consulting with Toronto. And I would just love for someone to say, what was the explanation on that call? Oh, we felt his actions. Oh, did you guys feel as if he made contact with the puck or the player? And if they said no, then, that's something where that's your story. No, Val Nichushkin did not make contact, did not touch the puck, did not touch the player, and it was still deemed offside. Again, nothing's going to change. They're not going to change anything about the result of this game. The league needs to look at that, and they need to address it internally. You cannot have that in other games. It was by the multiple different sections of the rule that I read it, unless they say, yes, Val Nichushkin touched his, made a play on his stick or made a play on the puck. That was an objectively incorrect call based on the way that I see the rule written.
Well, yeah, because...
We got another one.
That's the whole point of a forecheck, is you want the player who sees impending contact to make an impulse decision that isn't the right one. But now the player making the impulse decision that isn't the right one is being rewarded here. And that's obviously a problem.
If you're being forechecked and you see guys in your own zone, just throw it back to avoid the pressure. And according to the precedent set in this game, that's not going to be a call. We've got $10 here from LA94. Easily the worst game of the season team-wide, in my opinion. Passes were terrible, and don't even get me started on the turnovers. Mac and OT, are we for real? What even was that? The Mac, Mikko, Makar OT unit had a little bit of a track record of having stuff like this happen. It's a bad turnover. Cale Makar gets a stick on that puck. And I believe it was Gunther, right? Credit to Gunther, sweeping that stick through the crease and is able to find that puck bouncing. But that right there is why I'm saying, like, I think you should be happy with the point, because you did not play well. And the fact that you were able to dig a point out against a Utah team that was fired up for this game. They were talking about on the ESPN broadcast that Utah was looking at this as a measuring stick game. The Avs struggled tonight. You gotta take out of this one what you can, and you gotta get moved on to the next one.
Well, and not to be overly philosophical about this game, but I do think, in looking at the lack of composure in the breakdown of how they lose Game 7 in the Dallas series, I think this is an interesting thing for them to look at. The way in which the goal getting called back in the second period kind of caused them to get off from their game and not really get back to it. I hope they examine it enough to at least get those lessons learned in season, right? Like, how do we handle this kind of break not going our way and weird things happening? Like, as you point out in OT, a little bit of Makar getting that shifts the direction of that puck, right? But there's also this component of Marty Necas, a pretty big player. Can he get more reach in that lane that's now been created to Gunther? And that's really starting to split hairs on Game 5. of the season.
Right. Seven, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
Right.
Avs in game 7's not such a great track record
flying.
right now.
Oh my gosh,
Jesus.
seriously.
Anyways, apologies, but I do want them to look at that more closely because I especially look at the leadership, and it's also McKinnon who's a bit of a high wire act in this game. It's not just the OT period I'm keying in on, because I also see him as a driver of a lot of their chances, but they come in these breakaway spurts, and that's really exciting and cool, but that also isn't a team that's working really great together.
It felt a little run and gun at times in this game, and that's when you let teams that are skilled like Utah, that's how you let them hang around and even let them get in a little bit of control of those games. Is let's just run around and skills and odd man rushes and breakaways and
because
all kinds of stuff
back and forth, which led to some pretty impressive saves from Wedgwood. So credit to Wedgwood. He doesn't get the win in this game, but there were high danger moments that a lot was asked of him that he stood tall, because it was a lot of back and forth, and Vejmelka played great. And so I do think some of those individual efforts from McKinnon could have been rewarded, just runs into a hot goaltender. And honestly, this is an interesting then look at the Dallas series, just not to trigger anyone, but you run into a hot goaltender in Ottinger. Your top guys are just a little bit off their game. And it's important then when things don't go your way and the game breaks a little bit weirdly, not to let it throw you off.
We do got a couple super chats in there. We do have Charlie here with us tonight for the post game, helping us keep the vibes up on a late night puck drop. All right, what do we got here? What's the first one we got? Hit those money lights. Again, $5 from Tim Charlotte. Replays in any sport should never be determined by a player's quote unquote intention. That's all I got. Go Avs. Thank you for the $5.
Tim.
And Megan, the other part of this that I said, one of the things that I didn't like about it was that was a 3 or 4 minute review. It's what are we doing here? What are we doing here? That's
disruptive to the flow of hockey.
Right. And it's if you're looking at it that closely, especially for what the explanation ended up being, it's what were you looking at for that long? How intentional was it? I just, I don't know. All right, what else we got? $5 from LA94. Also, can we all agree that broadcasting for this game was objectively terrible? A 12-minute live mic on the Utah owner during the game. It was definitely, multiple, the Utah goal was scored that was called back while he was on, and then Utah scored an actual goal while he was on, and it was just kind of weird because they just kind of kept doing the interview as chaos was going on and stuff.
It was tough because I remember distinctly there was a replay I wanted to see, and because of this interview, they didn't show it. It would have been, just kind of a small thing in the game. It didn't result in a goal, anything, or a non-goal, but it was something I wanted to see play back and I didn't get to, and I was a little frustrated by that.
Yeah. I think we had one more in there. Boom, 5 more from Tim again, just because Jesse has his puppy and given him love.
Oh.
Yeah, he is Charlie. He likes the scratches, and he likes to let you know when he doesn't think he's getting enough. But thank you. And Charlie says thank you as well. I want to talk about Marty Necas a little bit more. Let's key in on the positive here for a second. That's a play that'll bring you out of your seat. What a shot by Marty Necas. Had the Avs been able to rally and come out of this with 2 points, that's one of those where it's yep, that's the power of elite players. Marty struggles all game, and then what a play, what a shot, gets the Avs even. Give him credit. He keeps the point streak going. Now all 7 games, he has a point for the Avs, and he helps them get a point here tonight.
Yeah, really high skill play. Don't want to take that for granted. And it's also a testament to the strength of his shot, something that we've wanted to see more of. The passing ability, we've sort of seen maybe overpassing on the power play at times. And it gets to a point where you just want to see Marty shoot the puck. And that's exactly why. So hopefully that proof of concept encourages him to keep shooting the puck. And he takes away more positives than not from this game, because I don't want him to get discouraged. He's played really well through this point. Tonight was just kind of an off night for a lot of people, and I think they're people that are heavily relied on. So it affects everybody.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we got another one in there.
Oh my goodness.
From Vaguely Sober, our guy. I did see it. I actually just saw it in the third period there. I owe you a text back, Vaguely. Sent me a mock-up of an Eagles /GS logo. Looks very nice.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, text back. We got another one here. $9.99 Jackie Moon. I made a semi-pro reference earlier today upstairs, and nobody got it, and I was really upset. $9.99 Scooby Snacks for Charlie. He is also he likes the scratches and any and all snacks. He's an equal opportunity snack eater, no doubt about it. Ooh, actually, I think I actually do have some snacks for him in my bag. Yeah, Marty Necas, he said high skill play, and keeps things going for the Avs. Your thoughts on Scott Wedgwood tonight? I think that third goal that Sergachev gets is probably one that he's going to want back. But again, you pointed out earlier, it's a weird turnover coming right off the wall. Sergachev is able to kind of come downhill on that puck a bit. But I can guarantee if we were talking to Wedgie right now, he'd be saying, yeah, I got to get that one.
Yeah. I think that should have been a clean breakout first and foremost, but that is short side over his glove. So I'm sure he feels frustration in that, but I'm not bidding him up too harshly because the high danger chances come out at the end of this favoring Utah. And so he was facing a lot of grade A opportunities throughout the night and some of that run and gun hockey that we're talking about. So there was a Lawson Krause backhand breakaway in that third period where he comes up with a huge save. So all that to say, I'm really happy with the performance from Wedgwood. This is a 4-3 game in overtime. He's given them a chance to win every single game. And you add in the Landeskog goal, right? That's maybe what makes this frustrating too, is if this had been a bit more divided, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a bit more distant in the end result, it probably wouldn't have mattered. But because it was as close as a goal in the end, one that gets called back, controversially, definitely feels a little frustrating, but nothing that points to Scott Wedgwood not doing his job.
Megan, what else you got for this one?
Just wanted to shout out the third line again.
I was just gonna say really quick. I say, what else you got again? I agree with your assessment there on Wedgwood. The 2 games they've lost, maybe he hasn't looked as good as he has in the other ones. You're giving him a chance to win, and that's all that matters.
There've been a few comeback, games too. They haven't felt super far out of reach for the Avs, but they have been games where they've trailed and had to come back. And it goes back to that, no matter how things turn in the game, he starts games very well. Or if a goal does go in early, he's able to settle. And so that is such a huge quality in a goaltender to be able to stabilize the game like that. And it was persistent tonight.
Yeah. You were saying, sorry, third line.
The third line, just a reflection of what they can do well when they're working. And it was the forecheck pressure from Ross Colton that gets this started in chasing Schmaltz below the goal line. And then I think this pass from Colton kind of to the net front. This is, where a bounce to on behalf of Utah goes a little bit funky, but he gets that puck between the legs of Marino and gets it to the net. It goes off Barrett Hayton to Drury, who's able to clean it up, which, that's a bit unfortunate in the way that puck goes off, but that pass from Colton was very high skill and it was born from his own forecheck. So I think that line, we're just beginning to see some of what they can do well. They can be a bit difficult to play against, and there's also a lot of skill that's on that line.
And like you said, they ended up kind of moving things around, but I like the fact that you had a couple different looks. Brindley skated with Colton and Drury for a shift or two. And I just like the fact, I think it's a good mix on that line, and they're not pouring goals into the net, but we're 7 games into the season, and they've each gotten one, and they've each found a way to be impactful in ways. And again, on a night where we pointed out the Avs top guys maybe weren't going, to the level you want them to get some of that depth support in there. That's exactly why what did Ross Colton talk to us about during training camp? We don't want to be a line that goes out here just to survive. We want to be difference makers. We want to be guys that can produce.
Yeah, another good Victor Olofsson game too, in what he adds to that line, and some of those puck touches being more of an offensive threat than just extending possession. And I'm excited then they come away as one of the best possession lines. But I think that getting rewarded with the goal points to that it's not just, winning pucks. They're also doing good things with the pucks that pose an offensive threat. I'm excited for them.
Chuck, any thoughts? Anything? No? Are you ready to go home?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Avs dropped this one 4-3 in overtime. But again, they remain without a regulation loss, making points in every game so far. And hey, that's the name of the game, right? Accrue points, move up in the standings. So the Avs
And
learn your lessons. It's best to learn a lesson in a win. If you have to learn a lesson in a loss, well, you might as well get something out of it.
Do it in the regular season.
Do it in the and you know what? Do it in October.
Do it in October.
So all according to plan. Right on track. Sounds like. Avs dropped this one 4-3. Big shout out to the crew. We got here. She's Megan. I'm Jesse. We got Charlie here as well. Dan and Ashley making all this happen. All come together for you guys here tonight. Nordiques versus Whalers on Thursday down at Ball Arena. Should be a fun one. Then the Avs are back on the road for
funky schedule.
Really funky schedule here to start. And really it'll keep going all season. That's going to do it. She's Megan. I'm Jesse. This is Charlie. Have a good night, everybody. Get some sleep. Talk to you later.